Welcome to System Dynamics Online Tutorials. In this particular session we're going to cover the purchase order file purges. Within the purchase order module under the file purges we have 5 applications to take care of purging particular information and records off of the purchasing module. The purchase order month-end purge takes all of the transactions up to and including the date entered, and it will default to the system date, and transfers all of the purchasing activity in that time frame to the history table. It's important to note here that every purchase order will be taken in, not purged, but taken into a history table so that you can actually query on it at a later point in time. Simply enter the date that you want the purchase orders to be purged up to and including, and execute the application, and the standard batch online will come up, and by running it, all of the purchasing activity historically, anything up to and including that date, will go into the history. The purchase order history, which is the next purge, holds all of the transactions just discussed about and actually been put into the history table, and this allows me to purge records entered earlier than. So there's a cutoff. If I was, and the system does not default to a date, I have to actually enter the date. So in the example that I've been using, if I purge everything up to and including today as far as the purchase order activity into the history tables, and then I can simply come in here and purge my records entered earlier than say the 1st of January. What that will do is it will actually delete all purchase order activity before January 1st out of my history tables and never to be seen again. It's actually purged directly from the system. Simply enter the date that you want to do that on, do an execute of the query, and the standard batch online program comes up. There is no report. When you actually run this, it will just update will be complete and be returned to the menu. The non-receiving purchase order is the next purge within the file purges, and what that does is any purchases of which there will be any receipts of which there will be no more receiving activity against. This will purge those purchase orders up to and including the date entered. So much like the purchase order purge into the history, this will take all of the receipts that have been that are not going to have any more receipts against them, and take those purchase orders and purge them to history as well. It's important to note that these particular records go into history as well, and are controlled by that history purge should I wish to actually get rid of them. The vendor pricing discount purge acts upon the vendor discount, which I will just show you here. As far as the maintenances are concerned, within the vendor pricing discount we had for particular vendors, we had these pricing discount codes set up, and there is an effective date and the expiry date on them. What this particular purge application allows me to do is purge off all of the discount codes for a given vendor up to and including the expiry date that I entered. So it'll drop these ones off that have expired from the system. So simply by going into the vendor pricing discount and querying on the particular vendor, or actually knowing the vendor that I want to go into, I can use the list of values, and the system will display to me all the valid vendors, and I can pick the particular vendor and actually purge all of those ones that are assigned to him that have an expiry date up to, equal to this particular date here. So they will be dropped off that vendor. If I do not have any vendor pricing code for the given vendor, just to execute that, simply execute it, and the standard batch online will appear, and the system will no report will be generated. It will just update will be complete and will be dropped back to the menu. If there is no pricing discount for the given vendor that's entered, the system will display that to you. So if I actually pick one that I know has no product discount code set up, and I try to execute, the system will tell you that there's no pricing discount existing for that particular vendor. Final purge is the vendor product pricing, which is where all the pricing for the particular purchased items are kept. And again, similarly, based on that expiry date that I have, I can purge all of those records that have become expired for the given vendor, simply by entering or querying on the given vendor and then executing the application. All of the pricing records that have an expiry date of the date entered will be dropped off from the system. Simply run the application, no report will be produced. It will actually just come back, update will be complete, and go back to the menu. And that concludes the file purges within the purchase order module.